the question. Okay. So in a way, micro lectures are going to be a de-sampling of what you have understood earlier. I don't want to, it's simply, overpopulate your mind with the same idea. I want to see that, the idea which you got is, the idea which you got is really convincing all of you. Okay. So then we will see that what is a convincing answer to all of answer or possible answers in understanding all these things. Okay. So the first point is, again, let me come back to the question of somebody said about firm, or somebody talked about individual. What is an individual in economics? So far, you people decided, or what is your opinion about an individual? Who is an individual? Yeah, tell me. Who is an individual? Like, individual equality is not just one person. Economic, economic. Like, for example, the consumer, the investors, the business firms. And so it's not just one person. It's not just one person. It's not just one person. Okay. So how do we characterize them? That is the first question. If that is the opinion, it is individual, not necessarily, I agree with you in that sense. If individual is is an unit of analysis, then how do we characterize that unit of analysis? How do we characterize? What would be the nature of that unit? Suppose take any unit. You can take any unit. How do we characterize that unit? That's what I am asking. Yeah. You said that a unit, consumer. Okay, take any unit. Let's take consumer. How do we characterize consumer in that sense? Yeah. Okay. So can you demonstrate it in your own understanding to understand whether you had any? Okay. Okay. That's it. So you say that the satisfaction or maximization of utility would be the kind of understanding of consumer. At the same time, a profit, is, a firm is actually, or a seller, it is different, right? That okay. Somebody else want to actually intervene in between. Who is that? Pratap? Yeah. Hmm. Sure, you can. Hmm. Yes, sure. No, there is nothing called an opinion. It is also you study it, right? I'm not asking somebody afresh, okay, into the field. I'm asking the same question to somebody who studied already. Okay, micro. Most of you are students of microeconomics. or economics. So there is no question of opinion. So you studied already. That's what I keep asking. So you need to actually, the question is very important, because unless and until we are clear about what we learned, it is difficult to unlearn. Okay, and again relearn. So this is the process. So education is all about learning and unlearning, relearning. Okay, so you understand new things as well as you, that means the old thing may not be so good. Okay, again that is only gives scope to understand a newer mechanism to resolve problems. Okay, if the world is static, then we may not be having a pandemic, we may not be having a economic crisis, we may not be having sort of crisis of economics and the crisis of other things. Okay, but all this is happening. Okay, so things are not as we think, it just keep changing. Okay, so you have to have the process of learning as well as the relearning and learning, all process simultaneously takes place. Okay, so the point is here, an individual having certain kind of characterization which is already mean standardized, or which is already standardized. Okay, an individual having a standardized characterization. Okay, as you said, consumer having a standardized mechanism, what a consumer maximize, for example. So you say that maximization. Okay, what a producer maximize from your own learning. You said already that they maximize profit, right? Is it clear? Yeah, a consumer maximize utility, whereas a producer maximize profit. Okay, so what you say that a maximizing function you have already attributed to these people. So people are doing things, or economic activities, all something to do with maximization. Okay, maximization of your benefit, maximization of your utility, maximization of your profit. Okay, maximization of your income, whatever things which you people are all talking about maximization. Okay, that is the ideal theorization or characterization, or the characterization must be leading towards this particular phenomenon, okay, of maximization. Now there are schools again, in the later half of a certain point, that is I will come to. Also this microeconomics is not devoid of, or it is detached from history. So in the post 1940s or 50s, people started speaking about, instead of maximization, optimization. Have you heard about this word optimization? Yeah. So what is this optimization vis-a-vis the maximization? What is the difference between an optimum and a maximum? So what is maximum? Okay. So what is the difference? Tell me. Hmm. Anybody? Yeah, anyone can. അങ്ങനെയാണോ? അതാ ഞാൻ അങ്ങോട്ട് ചോദിക്കാൻ പോകും. ഏഹ്? എങ്ങനെയാണ് വേറെ ആകുന്നത്? ഉം. Is it related? അങ്ങനെ പറഞ്ഞതുകൊണ്ട് ചോദിച്ചതാ. Is it related? അതായത് profit, you said that profit maximization means profit maximization, profit maximization at the same time cost minimization means cost minimization. Okay, my question is that, but I'm asking, is it related? If you are saying that something is minimized, time if it is related, then the other thing is going to be maximized, right? Right. For example, if you are cost in that sense, you have actually monetary things in your mind. So you are, suppose you are saying that okay, my cost is minimum. So if you minimize your cost means you are maximizing your benefit, right? I don't say that it's profit. Benefit is maximized. Okay. You are spending the least means what? You are enjoying the most. You are spending the least at relatively the benefit is maximum, right? That is what you are trying to make, right? Having different implications. Is it so? Or something else is in your mind? Hmm? You are not able to figure out. Okay, fine. We will see that. Okay, no problem. But we will eventually see what is actually all this. But anybody can respond in a simple sense that what it means, in fact, is optimum versus maximum business. Any technical answer? Yeah, please. Who is that? Yeah, Benami, tell me. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Anybody want to add or Kiran? Hello. Okay. So it's a good answer, Abhinami. Thank you. Anyway, see, the only difference between optimization and maximization is one is based, as you pointed, in a different sense. That optimization is always comes with constraints. Okay. Whereas maximization has no limit. It is not talking about any constraint. Whether the person is actually constrained with X or Y is not being discussed. But what he or she has to achieve is being discussed. But at the same time, when we people talk about optimization, they talk about different kinds of constraints to achieve certain level. Okay, that is the only point. So when you have constraints, then your achievement level is also being limited in that sense. Okay. So, for example, if profit maximization, people may be thinking that all the 100 unit which they sell is going to have profit making. Okay. But at the same time, in reality, that is not going to happen because all the 100 units may not be treated by the other side of the buyer. Okay. Even if you wish to sell at a positive margin, but you may not be able to sell that. Why? Because other people, provided that other people has actually that level of income, then you can say that okay, you can sell it. But then also you are limiting the other persons for an to an extent, basically. Okay, so there is a lot of issues related with this maximization business vis-a-vis the optimization business. So now most of the economic models are moved towards constraint maximization or the optimization problem. Okay, given that you have a constraint, how the situation we can tackle with, or the best possible way to tackle a situation, is now the question which largely people are interested in, not actually the best. Okay, because the best is we don't know what is that. Okay, therefore the situation is also constrains people from making different decisions, because so far people thought of actually a simple anecdote will prove this thing. Okay, till 1970s, many people used to say that people have a mechanical rationality, people have perfect rational being, and they make a perfect choice, etc. This was the modeling. Okay, the nature of modeling. Then many people come out and said that okay, if people are perfectly rational, then why all these problems happens? Okay, Amartya Sen is one among those who stepped out and asked the same question. Okay, when people spoke about welfare economics, which is the second part of our microeconomics, welfare economics, basically in the next semester, uh, this issue will be taught very extensively. So the issue is very simple. If people are very rational, okay, profit maximizing or individual utility maximizing, then they are rational. That means the rationality conditions are being followed. Like if A is understood A as, that is the reflexive condition, connectivity condition, transitive condition. What is connected means if A and B are there, then either you choose A or B or both. Then it is called the connectivity. Those your choice is connected with the commodity which is, or the set which is given to you. So this is what is called connectedness. Then if transitivity means if you make a choice of A over B over C, then A is always over C, and you are consistent in. Now many people said that you may be actually choosing A over B over C, but you may not be consistent. Amartya Sen is one of the person who proved all this mathematically. Okay, and that means people are rational but not necessarily consistent. But even people are consistent but not necessarily rational. Then whatever the model which we were discussing is actually having a flaw in that sense. Okay, so the mathematical modeling in that sense is not perfect, or you cannot have a perfect being to follow all these rules and giving a result, but your results are always different. How you have a very different result, even though many people are following the same rules which you set? Okay, so there are so many questions thrown into this kind of understanding or model building. Okay, am I making sense? Am I audible? Hello? Okay, so there is a lot of issues came in the midway. That is only in the later half of 1950s. Basically, yeah, 1960s, 70s. This question is actually loomed very well in economics. So you have a different branch of economics started now. Social choice economic, that is social choice theory. You have welfare economics. You have different branches of microeconomics has started theoretically, where they were been testing what the characteristics of individual. As we simply said, individuals is the unit of analysis under the microeconomics. So the microeconomics is actually kind of baseline theoretical formulation which all of us has to be familiarized. Okay, that is why microeconomics is very important. And then this is about the individual. Now, what I said about individuals are maybe consistent but not rational, maybe rational but not consistent. Okay, so all individuals are not, or even the the so-called economic individual, which is a modeled individual unit, may not follow all this stuff simultaneously. It is difficult, or it is called the impossibility, or the sort of what you call the inconsistency of different units. So this is there. Then how do we that sort of an inconsistent individual make a perfect choice, which we will again discuss. Okay, so what we do simultaneously, we do learn the theoretical cogency, at the same time the problems within the theoretical formulation. Okay, so that gives you more understanding of making new models, which is what is we are all expecting. That is, you have to learn the model as well as unlearn the model, and make you should be able to create a new model in that sense, out of your own understanding, your own experiments, your own experience, etc. So then and then only we advances in the sort of economics which we are supposed to learn. Otherwise, and I was basically wondering yesterday, all of you said you want to be teachers, all are careerists, to be very simple. You want to be a career, that's it. So you treat only economics as a career subject. Nobody want to make economics as a career. Nobody said that I want to be an economist. But some said I want to be an economic analyst. Okay. So again, there you detached yourself from the subject. Nobody want to be an economist. It is quite a very what a strange kind of orientation all of you are having. When I am studying something, if I don't want to be or contribute towards that particular subject, then there is no point of studying that subject, right? None of you said that I want to contribute something in economics. Okay, I don't know whether we have such an understanding at all, or we are treating ourselves as a secondary individual, a third tertiary individual who are in the learning process. I was wondering actually. Nobody want to be an economist. Okay, so these are actually a kind of problem within the orientation, I guess. All of you want it as a, make opportunity of being a teacher, but you don't want to be an economist. An economist can also be a teacher. Okay, so none of you had that flair, because yesterday's when you said about yourself, this is not came up. So this class is largely focusing, or will be focusing partially on these aspects also, because unless and until your micro is strong, you are ready to learn and unlearn and relearn, you can't contribute anything. Okay, same, otherwise we will be mechanical teachers, mechanical researchers, mechanical, you cannot contribute something which is original, or from you can claim that it is mine. Otherwise everything is going to be CCP. You know what is CCP? Cut, copy, paste. Okay, so I think my students should think frequently than simply mug up. So the whole motive of micro learning is also keeps this fact in mind. Okay, that's about the other aspect. Now let's come back to our problem. That is, it is largely the micro foundation, as all of you said. It is microeconomics per se. But again, the second point somebody said about the it is not the individual. Now, the second issue is actually about firm. Now, Ronald was an economist who asked a question that what is the nature of firm? Okay, the title of his is a young chap. While he was only 26 or 7, he wrote this piece. The nature of firm. What would be the nature of firm? Okay, the nature of firm. Any guess what is the nature of firm? Is firm a market? We know that firm is a unit. Okay, you said that firm is a unit, a micro unit. What would be the nature of that micro unit? Again, just like the individual, okay, the perfect individual to an imperfect individual, firm is also having a problem. Okay, normally we say that firm is an individual unit. How do a firm an individual unit? Firm is a place where many people have works, many people have different kinds of sacrifice, many people have different kinds of gain, which is also the part of the other side of the sacrifice. Okay, so everything take place. So firm's decision, who will take the decision of a firm, or etc. All kinds. Firm is not as simple as we think. There is a different subject which is developed out of this is called the industrial organization, theory of industrial organization. Then also you have a theory of firms. Then also you have a separate discipline called, the transaction cost economies. This is all came out of this question of firm. What is the nature of firm? This particular gentleman asked this question and followed from his paper and many discussions, which is actually uh, gave birth to different disciplines. Okay, new institutional economics. So there are many different names and sub-disciplines within the economics. Okay, so the thing is that he just asked one question, that is, what is the nature of firm? What would be the nature of firm within the structure? He never asked this question outside the structure of economics. So there are different strands of economics. You may be knowing about microeconomics of mainstream economists and microeconomics of classical political economists, microeconomics of heterodox economists, their perspective. Everything is different. So mainstream neoclassical economists, microeconomics completely different to that of others. So you should also learn that the diversity within the subject, the diversity within the topic which we discuss. So my point is, what would be then the nature of a firm or its decision? Is it a micro behavior? Is it so micro? We have actually a problem again when you say about another question is called the demand and supply. We say, simply say that the demand and supply interaction is what is the ultimate basis as far as Marshallian economics is concerned, microeconomics, or the traditional microeconomic framework is concerned. Okay, neoclassical economics is concerned. So he say that firm's decision making, to prove the firm's decision making, you have a supply curve and a demand curve, right? Firm is always a person or an entity or a unit which is produces something. Okay. Then there is another set of illusion we do have is actually about the market. Nobody had today spoke anything about market. So the fundamental understanding of economics, microeconomics particularly, is happening in a place which is called a market, right? Every activity is taking place in a space. That space can be virtual or physical or whatever. So this is what is called a space of buying and selling, or an interaction, a consumer and a producer. Okay, a government, a loanee and a loaner. Okay, all kinds of, or a creditor or a debitor. All this interaction takes place as space. That space is what is called a market, where simply you say that a buying and selling take place. Demand and supply, it's a space of demand and supply. Demand and supply takes place in a space where it is called market. Okay, so the behavior of market is very essential to understand again microeconomics. So none of you had anything spoke about that aspect of micro, because unless you have a market characterization, you cannot actually really speak about the characterization of an individual or a characterization of firm or even profit maximization or utility maximization. Okay, so your setting up of a market is also equally important in that sense. So your setting up of a market itself is an important, uh, you know, the pillar to understand what we are dealing with. So if your market is imperfect, then things are not going to work accordingly, because your individuals may not have that much of knowledge or information if you have an imperfect market. Okay, same the case with your firm, may not be having an imperfect knowledge in that sense. If they don't have perfect information, then they cannot actually maximize profit as we think. So market is also very, very essential to understand this particular behavior, as many of you rightly point. I'm not saying that you are wrongly understood. Your understanding is right, because we are talking about behavior of an individual, but this behavior is interlinked with many aspects. But within that, there are set of or bundles of certain things which you need to be really understand. One is actually the baseline or the functional space of what we think, what we study, which is the functional space is what is called a market. Okay, you have different kinds of market: perfect market to the extreme imperfect market. Okay, you have a perfect competitive market to extremely monopoly. Okay, extremely monopoly means the other end of the story. Okay, the perfect competition means what? The other end of the story. So you have a spectrum of market in my mind. One, the left side and right side, you have different kinds of imperfections and perfections. If you have perfect information and anybody can come and go, no constraints, then you can say that maximization comes in. So that is a setup where you have perfect competition allows you to make. So the importance of perfect competition comes there, and all of you, we will discuss what is perfect competition. What is perfect in perfect competition would be a question to all of you. So can I ask that question? Do I have privilege to ask what does you understand as perfect competition? These are the, I'm not asking anything new. I'm asking a question which is differently been asked. Okay, nothing. You know about perfect competition. So what do you understand? What is your understanding of perfect competition? Hello, all of you are there, right? Okay. What is your understanding about perfect competition? Are you following me? Because we have no physical interaction. Like, yeah. Are you following me? ഞാൻ പറയുന്നത് മനസ്സിലാകുന്നുണ്ടോ? ഞാൻ പറയുന്നതിനെ നിങ്ങൾ കൃത്യമായിട്ടും ഫോളോ ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ടോ? Yes. Okay. So do you think that the questions which I am asking is pertinent or it is trivial? What do you think? Is it important or very unimportant things? Okay. So what is then which I asked? What is your response? Hmm. Okay. Okay. These are called characterization, right? As I said in the beginning, you have to characterize certain things. Okay. Good. Two characters. Okay. And tell me more. Free entry and exit. Only these three things? So you said that there are a lot of buyers and sellers. That lot of buyers and sellers is actually there because they have no barriers to enter and exit, right? There is no barrier to entry and exit. That means they are free to enter and exit. Whenever they want to come, they can come. Whenever they want to go, they can go. That is a space, okay? There is no restricted. It is not a restricted space. Anybody can come and anybody can go. First point, if that is the case, then many people may come or go. Okay. So many buyer, many seller, therefore, because it is a free space. Okay. Now, these are the two things which is but the question is that is there spaces of that kind? Restriction ഇല്ലാത്ത ഏതെങ്കിലും സ്ഥലമുണ്ടോ ലോകത്തിൽ? So whatever then whatever the profit maximization, whatever things which is make in there, literally absent will be absent, right? If you say that that kind of situation will never exist, if that kind of situation will never exist, then whatever conclusion which we makes out of that will never exist, right? Okay, fine. Then why we are making such an assumption or such a situation? Not assumption, such a situation. Yeah, yeah. Hmm. Okay. Yes, tell me. That's it. പെർഫെക്റ്റ് മാർക്കറ്റ് ഇല്ല എന്നാണ് നിങ്ങൾ പറഞ്ഞത് ആദ്യം. പെർഫെക്റ്റ് മാർക്കറ്റ് ഇല്ല എന്ന് പറയാൻ പറ്റില്ല എന്നല്ല, പെർഫെക്റ്റ് മാർക്കറ്റ് ഇല്ല എന്നാണ് പറഞ്ഞത്. ഈസ് ദർ എനി സ്പേസ് എന്നാണ് ഞാൻ ചോദിച്ചത്. Yes, but what is actually the distance from a perfect situation to the current situation? That is what you are trying to make, right? The distance between what is the real and what is the ideal. Okay? അത് മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ ആ ഡിസ്റ്റിങ്ഷൻ മനസ്സിലാക്കാനാണ് നമ്മൾ ഇത്തരത്തിലുള്ള അസംഷൻ മാർക്കറ്റ് ഉണ്ടാക്കുന്നതാണ് പറഞ്ഞത്, റൈറ്റ്? Perfect. It's a good answer. Okay. So that is one of the very important point. When I say that we study a model, we mean it, right? So the model is very important. When we study a model, the model is very important because a model is trying to envision certain things which we want to speak, right? It can be an ideal one or it can be a practical one or something else. I don't know. So a practical one, an ideal one. Okay, these are called models, right? Different kinds of models. Okay, so perfect competition is one of the model in that sense. So that is one way tell you that the maximum limit or the maximum one can achieve. I would say only the maximum there. There is no optimum because there is no constraint. That is, there is no constraint of entry and exit, for example. There is no a barrier to entry and exit. But there is no limitation in numbers, how many people can come and go. There is no such limitation. Okay. Now, over and above, most important thing of the same is not this one. In information symmetry, that is the most important assumption and the heavy assumption which is made under perfect competition. Okay, this is not a simple assumption. That assumption says the symmetry of information. Okay, regarding the market and its characterization or the transaction, the buyer and seller, or the intra buyer and the intra seller, or between buyer and between the seller, or between buyers and between sellers, all the combinations, okay, having a sort of a symmetry of information. All of them has information which is symmetry. What is a symmetry? Anybody can comment on symmetry? Symmetry of information. Symmetry means, oh yeah, equally divided. What we mean by equally divided? Same. Okay. Equally divided means A is equal to B if and only if B is equal to A. Right? This is what is called symmetry. Okay? A and B is equal if and only if A is having all the characteristics which B has, B is having all the characteristics which A has. Right? അതല്ലേ അതല്ലേ ഉദ്ദേശിച്ച് യെസ് പെർഫെക്റ്റ് സോ ഓമൻ കുറച്ചുകൂടി ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റിംഗ് ആയിട്ടാണ് ഇതിനെ പറഞ്ഞത്. നൊബേൽ ലോറിയേറ്റ് 2006 നൊബേൽ ലോറിയേറ്റ് ആണ് ഓമൻ. ഓക്കെ, അദ്ദേഹം ഓമൻ എന്ന് കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ടോ? ഓക്കെ, സോ ഓമൻ പറയുന്നത് ഇങ്ങനെയാണ്: ഐ നോ ദാറ്റ് വാട്ട് യു നോ. സിമെട്രി ഓഫ് ഇൻഫർമേഷൻ ഈസ് സിമ്പിൾ. That I know that what you know, and you know that what I know. I know that what you know that I know. You know that what I know that you know. Okay, so this is will go on. So no way anyone can bluff each other. So if I say that price a px is existing, then A also know about the px and B also know about px. Okay, if there is a cost which is actually cx exists, then A also know about that cx and B also know about that cx. Okay, that x cost and the x price being a priori understood by both the players. Then and then only you can say that information symmetry is. So this is the most important assumption in the perfect competition. Not even large number of buyers and sellers, free entry and access, but information symmetry is essential. If information symmetry is essential, then the question immediately I would ask that how would be the price determined? Is anybody, that is why the next assumption of that comes up. Nobody can influence price, right? Everybody is a price taker. Have you studied this assumption? Yeah, everybody takes price. Nobody makes price. Okay? Because price is given. Why price is given? Information symmetry. No individual can distinctly make a price. Okay? That means nobody can change price. Okay, that means either price is a priori given or all of them are having a consensus of a price which cannot be changed. Okay, So suppose if you have this assumption, what would be the nature of demand curve, supply curve of a firm, of an individual under perfect competition? Any guess? But what do you mean by perfectly elastic? Okay. What is your good name? Okay. Thank you, Hannah. It is what? It's horizontal. Okay. So the demand, supply, everything has only one line. Demand is equal to supply. Okay. Is equal to P. So you have one point P. Nobody can change P. So there is only one P exist. So that would be your demand and that would be your supply. That can go at any point. That's what it says. As you said, it is elastic at that point. It can keep on extending. If an elastic means what? If one point keep on extending means what? It would be a straight line. Okay. It is infinite. It can be go horizontal. Okay. Because you have only one price. Your P is what is makes all other quantity extendable, stretchable, right? You have only if you envision the same in a two-dimension vector space, that is in your two-dimension graph, you have an x-axis and y-axis. You put your P wherever you want, either in P as an x-axis case or a y-axis case. Normally in economics we put it as a y-axis thing, but it is supposed to be in the x-axis. Why? Because P is an independent variable. Okay. P has no influence by other things, but other things has influence. So normally in mathematics or engineering, whatever the dependent variable, we place that as in the y-axis and in the independent variable in the x-axis. Okay. So in this case, economics, we have actually the reverse formula to basically make people understand. Okay. So that is why you have a downward sloping demand curve from left to right. Otherwise, things would be different. Okay. Your supply curve is actually from left to right, which is an upward sloping one. Technically, mathematically, it is not right, but still, it's okay. Last 100 years, we are having the same error. Okay. Okay. The point is that not, or the point is not that. The point is that you have an elastic point because you have only one P in the y axis and you have quantities on the x axis. So if you have no P which is going to change, okay, so imagine that you have a P which is one dot, one price, say 10 rupee. 10 rupee is given. Now you can buy first quantity at 10 rupees and the nth quantity at 10 rupees. So you draw all the line, it would be looks like a horizontal straight line. Is it clear now? So in the perfect competition example, one makes if perfect competition example, then no curve whatsoever will be under perfect competition other than a horizontal point. It cannot be. Why? If I want to come in the market to produce something, if and only if the P is given and everybody know that what is my advantage or disadvantage, I can either take it or leave it. This is applies to everyone else. So in that sense, there is no downward sloping production. There is no upward sloping production. Even maybe in the unit wise, I may be having in production, if you say that the first unit, second unit and all has different thing. But in this case, you come with a bundle of goods and go with a bundle of goods if it is not unsold. Okay. So that is one of the most important aspect which we have to understand as far as the perfect competition assumption is concerned, which is very, very important. When we speak about the market, we will discuss this in detail. Okay. Now, as I said in the very beginning, all this sort of decisions of an individual or a firm makes in the setup, either it is in the perfect competition scenario of this kind or any imperfect form from this particular market structure. So if you say that if you have an imperfection in information, then free entry and exit may not be as good as in the first case assumption. Or you say that the price taking mentality is no longer exists because some people can make price. So there can be a different price in that. So then immediately you move towards the monopolistic competition, oligopolistic competition. Then you have duopoly, all kinds of different imperfect markets. Then you can also reach to the extent that a monopoly. What is an important aspect of a monopoly? Again, that is also part of the other extreme. In monopoly, buyer doesn't exist. Buyer has no role. Only the seller has it. In perfect competition, seller has no role. Neither the buyer, because both are price takers. Okay. Neither the buyer nor the seller takes price. Whereas in the in the monopoly, buyer has nothing to do with the price of the commodity. Why? Because in the extreme case of the opposite of perfect competition, the price is completely determined by the seller. So as the quantity, if I completely control price, naturally I control the quantity also. So in textbooks of pre-degree or other form, maybe in degree and all, we may also had a strange argument that in monopoly, either they control price or they control quantity. What is this either? In monopoly, you cannot either control price or quantity. If you control price, you control quantity because the other person has no role. Why? Because it is monopoly. By the word itself means that a single seller. If a single seller controls price, then he or she naturally controls the quantity too. Okay? At the same time, if you argue that somebody controls the quantity, naturally they controls the price also. For example, if it is only one airlines exist, one railway exists, then you have the same thing. Unless it is a government railway and a government airlines, because you think that government charges high, it's a wrong notion. Government is not private. So we will discuss that as in a different sense altogether, because their objective of a government is not necessarily the objective of an individual. But in technically in teachings, economics and all, we had a false notion which is inculcated to all of us that government is equal to firm. It's absolutely wrong. Because the objective of such a government is an opportunistic government. They will also deviate from the very understanding or the norms of government. So again, firm is not equal to government. If firm can be the same as we think, then you can say that, of course, then we can also evaluate the government also in that framework. Okay, so this is again a very interesting point of basically looking into the problem. So really, are we talking about, normally in textbooks it is simply given that natural monopoly, government is a natural monopoly. There's nothing natural. Government monopoly is different, because government monopoly's price of commodity is completely different to that of any other commodity price in market. Because monopoly means the monopolist determines the price, and that price is profit maximizing price. They will maximize, that is, they will charge at its maximum. But no government price whatsoever charges at its maximum. This is actually antithetical to the reality, but at the same time, we inculcate this fact that government monopoly is also monopoly. So single seller, that's fine, but they are not actually control, though they have control, but they are not controlling the price as theoretically as we discuss here. An individual charges, a monopoly charges a price which is at its maximum. This is a behavior of an individual. But when you speak about a government, their price may not be that much. If that much is not being charged, then they are having some problem. Okay, so conceptually there is an issue involved. Normally people try to say that government and the people have the same interest, which is absolutely different. Absolutely, basically, I would say that it is misleading. Okay, because in the public economics we will see that what is actually a government. Okay, what would be an ideal government? When you say that an ideal economy, and an ideal economy works with an ideal definition, then why cannot be an ideal government work accordingly? So that's a very different issue. So in the third semester and all, you learn that. So I'm not interested to go there right now. But what my point is that the monopoly, the understanding of monopoly and the examples of monopoly, which is given in the textbooks of different kind, is we need to be carefully dealt with, because your conceptualization, your theoretical formulation should be, remember this, should be in par with what we learned. Otherwise, we may not be actually really having something which is going to cater the real need of understanding the issue. Okay, so that a kind of an understanding is always necessary when we speak about economics, microeconomics, development. This sort of a clarity, this sort of a not only clarity but also a conviction is necessary when we learn any subject. So my interest in that sense is completely within this framework, to make sure that whatever you study, you should understand that. Okay, unless and until you understand it properly with that of the theoretical coherence as well as the reality. If it is two different things, you should say that it is two different things. You should not say that it is one and the same, given the fact that it is two different things. Okay, so the lecture should always move in that sort of an understanding, which is essential as far as the learning process is concerned. Okay, so then the whole understanding centers around all these aspects. Like we discuss about firms, we discuss about individual behavior. In order to understand and clarify all this thing, we will begin with the lectures of individual behavior, like consumer behavior, then producers behavior, then firms behavior. Then we will see that market, as I said, whatever this behavior has to be interact in a space. If two different behaviors we study separately, and then that behavior has to brought, or it has to be brought into certain space, where they interact each other. That is what is called the market. With that, we will stop our basic micro one framework. Then you have new theories of firms also in that. That is, I think, in the next semester we will learn. So all these things are basically essential to clarify the understanding of what is microeconomics and how do we interact with the real world. Once we are clear about thing, I guess all of you can freely comment on different aspects of economic problems. So my intention is also enables not only to understand this thing but also to comment on this aspect. And there would be, for that you have different sort of assignments, seminars, then write-ups, basically making write-ups, short term paper type of things, etc. So many activities are there or involved to make this happen. You have to comment on aspects like government policy or even individual policy responses towards different problems, etc. So unless and until we engage really into this thing, we don't or we never learn what we studied having any relation with that of we supposed to basically engage with. So this is what is ultimately the objective as well as the method and the mode of advancement of this particular lecture series. Okay. So with this, I think I'll stop today's statements and comments. Basically, our preparation stage lecture. Okay, so this is being the first lecture. I think this is sufficient to give an overview of what we study. We will subject specifically, topic specifically, we will go into the details of all this aspect. But to understand all this thing in a in a canvas format, though we are speaking about individual unit, but individual units are to be, or it must be understood and saw in a larger picture. In that sense, then only we can able to make certain sort of a review or commentary or response towards what is happening in the field. So that's all. Thank you. So any question? Any question? Hello? Okay. In the next class, what we will ask is like what is economic model, etc. The basic setting up of what is economic model. Keep all this thing in your mind because this is necessary to understand what we are doing. Okay. So any other point? Any question? Any to is it making